what exactly is trauma?
Trauma is not only active, it's passive. It's not only what happened, it's also what didn't happen. There are two extremes when people deal with trauma. One is over-identification. The other is denial. So the first thing is, don't be in denial. We're all humans. You go through challenges. And the thing about healing is that when you were broken, you experienced pain. For you to heal, that experience is not good. So there's a change of the breaking and there's a pain of the healing. What the brain needs is an assurance that you're no longer where you were, therefore you're no longer vulnerable to those events. Yes, like you are wholesome, like you are you. You are one indivisible, complete individual that doesn't need completing.
Yeah.
People who even try to want to help you reduce the pain can cause another problem. Life doesn't offer you all sweet for it to be pleasant. When you define something as though it happened only to you, then start having names beyond what it has.
More than 50% of you watching right now haven't subscribed yet to this channel. And I'd like you to do me a favor. Please subscribe now. It is how we continue to bring you the latest education on psychology and well-being so you can become the best at what God has created you to become. And it's also how YouTube recommends this video to more people and a bigger audience. So please do us this favor, subscribe now and share this video.
Pastor Dexter, again, welcome to the Year Life.
Yeah, thank you, Dexter. You too. Thank
To
you.
have you again.
Great conversation last time.
Yeah.
Today we get to.
Yes, I put some looking forward to with that too. So I'd like to start today's episode this with trauma and brokenness. But first, let's deal with trauma. Because from my own understanding, trauma is an emotional or psychological or physical response to an event or multiple events, which could be abuse, it could be violence, it could be disaster, but this event alters the person's thinking, acting, and even social functioning. So what exactly is trauma? I want us to go back to, the child. I talk about childhood trauma and how eventually impacts or affects the adult. And again, because personally, I want to believe that the body and mind leave scars. Okay, so first of all, what is trauma? And how does it actually, how does it grow into the adult man to what we're seeing today as brokenness?
Okay. Trauma is a very popular word. And the thing about popular word is that they are the most misunderstood. So when you say trauma, people think about massive things like an earthquake, surviving a plane crash, or a natural disaster.
Yeah.
No. Trauma is any unpleasant events in your past that was a stressor or that impacted in ways you didn't even understand that is now piggybacking or reflecting in the future. So it's like an unpleasant event in the past that is impacting your future in an unpleasant way that makes you dysfunctional in one way or the other. That's trauma, generally. And there's hardly any human being that doesn't have a record of trauma. Because trauma is not only active, it's passive. It's not only what happened, it's also what didn't happen. Deprivation, other children when growing up had their toys and had snacks and things like that. You didn't have them. And having that feeling of inadequacy while you were growing up and now evolving into a man and you have this feeling of, I'm not good enough. I can't get the things that I want. So there's this self-doubt that always trails whenever you want to reach for a goal because when you were younger, when you were small, you had desires that other children got, you didn't get. That's trauma. So it is any unpleasant, painful, or stressful event in your past that is impacting your present in a dysfunctional way. That's what trauma is likely in the most elementary way.
Okay.
Yeah.
How then, if something happened to me as a child, like you said, when I was growing up, I wasn't disposed to having toys or having anything I wanted. So I labeled it as lack. So when I grew up, that same mindset of lack and scarcity is still following. So what happened? Is it like a conditioning? Is it that trauma leaves conditions or conditioning of the person being traumatized in this context? Is it like a conditioning? Because tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Now, the thing is, as people grow, they are going through formative processes. their cognitive faculties being formed. And these formations happen with the events around you. They form your expectation, they form your ability to reach, to expect, to dream. Like the concept called learned helplessness. Now, when people haven't faced difficulty over time that they could not surmount, have come to accept the fact that this is me, I can't reach beyond here. You know, like the shark or the shark in the tank experiments when it comes to the concept of learned helplessness. So those events that persisted, especially during your growing up days, come to condition you, like rightly said, and then you form neural pathways that now align you to the delimitations of fences where you cannot reach beyond. Because you've been told in your mind that this is your love, you can't really reach beyond growth. So yes, it has those significant impact in your eventual outcome as you go.
Maybe so, because again, I want to believe like Il Conqueror. So many of us, almost everyone of us, have
Everybody.
events in our life that has affected our belief, somehow our thinking and our actions. So it's right to say that somehow we all have some traumatic events.
Everyone's correct.
So how do we know or identify one when it starts shaking or manifesting? How do you say, I think this is something about trauma manifesting and I need to deal with it? How do we know?
There are two extremes when people deal with trauma. Two extremes. One is over-identification. The other is denial.
Okay.
And this story was told about the great boxer Muhammad Ali. He was on a public plane, flying somewhere. And you know how it's done when the air hostesses go around and making it like a tender announcement. So they noticed he didn't have his seatbelt buckle. So they told him, Mr. Ali, buckle your seatbelt. And then he giggled in his characteristic way and saying, a Superman doesn't need seatbelts, okay? And then air hostess in a very calm way and say, Superman also doesn't need to fly an aeroplane. You understand?
Yeah.
So buckle your seatbelt. Now we have to understand that nobody is Superman. That's first of all. Nobody's a Thanos, nobody's Incredible Hulk, nobody's Wonder Woman, nobody's Batman. You know, all those superhuman, superhero complexes belong to the movies.
Yeah.
Every human being is impacted by event negatively. And there's so much you can take before we buckle or crumble under the weight of those events. So the first thing is, don't be in denial. We're all humans. You go through challenges. That's first. Then second, while every human being goes through challenges, let's not over-identify.
Okay.
Yes, enough over-identification to that, where, yes, you went through an issue. Like, for example, the story was told about a young boy that was sexually abused when he was 5 years old by a 25-year-old man. A man who didn't know, okay? And so he grew up with that fear, with that shame, you know, the shame that if anybody knows about this, I will not be loved by anybody, I will not have a girlfriend, my guys will leave me, my friends might be disown me. So he grew up with that shame of what happened to him until he got to a point where he decided to talk about it and become vulnerable about it. And see what the human brain needs. It's, and this is not as simplistic as it sounds. People go through significant issues. But like we have said, almost every human being has gone through this kind of trauma. So on the very elementary part, what the brain needs is an assurance that you're no longer where you were, therefore you're no longer vulnerable to those events. Yes, that's what the brain understands. So you keep staying in that psychological location, that state, where although you're not 20, you're still feeling like you're 5. That's why you're no longer fast. Yeah. So at 25 or 30, no unknown man can walk and harass. So you have to tell yourself, I am no longer there. I was a child, I couldn't do anything about it at that time. But now I have left that place. Because the brain is still feeling like if I was once assaulted, I can be assaulted again. But you can tell yourself, I was a child, I couldn't do anything about it. But I'm no longer there. Once you tell your brain that we have moved, we're no longer as predisposed to by park and vulnerable to it, the brain rests and calms down. So that is where you no longer over-identify with the event that caused you the stress. That's first. Then the next is that we must walk away from this, what I call lone sufferer syndrome. Okay. You know, like it's happened to many. First of all, everybody goes through some challenges.
Yeah.
Everybody does. Yes. So we suffer more when we think, it happened to only me. Many people get raped. I'm not trying to make light of any of these heavy, yes, but many people get harassed. Many people get molested. Many people get robbed. Many people get kidnapped. Many people have been through very serious challenges. So once you excuse yourself from that lone sufferer syndrome and understand that it happened to many people, you can reduce the burden on yourself, because sometimes we feel because we're not good enough. Maybe we did something that brought misfortune to us. Once you're able to break up that lone sufferer syndrome and that identification, I think your problem largely did not solve alleviated. You can start fighting, building new neural pathways, telling yourself about handle this. I'm no longer that vulnerable young child or whatever it was. Sometimes somebody who was abused or who was deprived of things when they were young is now a wealthy elderly man or elderly middle man. You can afford anything you want. Yeah. Again, that ability to afford can now be another trauma where you're not trying to overcompensate. You're buying everything that comes inside because you were once traumatized when you were a child. We have to grow up a point to know that I'm no longer that child that was abused or that was disadvantaged. So, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So 2 ways. Stop over identifying with it.
Yes.
Okay? And also understand that the times have changed. And maybe if you happen that fight, you're no longer fight here, the conditions would have changed. These are our net has changed. The rock has changed, right? Okay, so if trauma is about what happened to us, can it be inferred somehow that it is about what didn't happen to us?
Yes, like I said, trauma is about both the active, what happened, and the passive, what didn't happen. In the passive, I might say the things you were denied, the privileges you didn't get, or advantages you didn't get. For example, if you were in a circle of friends and you were all smart, you're all incompetent, you're all brilliant in skill, but one had to come tops, therefore he got a scholarship or whatever scholarly preferences. It can lead you feeling inadequate. Yeah. So you never got the chance to be celebrated and get special bar. It happened to others. Yes, it happened to others. Now all of you were equally intelligent. But when it comes to graded preferences or graded reward, one person will always come out tops. No two people win same race. Yeah, one has to be the best. Yeah. And you see, when it comes to the concept of best, people just trump others by very kindness. Maybe 1 second. It won't be 0 point. Yeah, the very fine second. So you feel bad that you're almost as good, and yet you never got that special recognition. So the thing that didn't happen to you can also be a traumatic event. Again, you must walk away from that of identification. Life is not always a relay race. In real life scenario, many people can win at the same time.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So yes, examinations, one person has to come at tops, first position, second position, and then you always second, and then the first always beat you by 1 mark or 2 marks. That was in the classroom. When it comes to real life situation, the tournament is not as steep as it is. It's broad. Yes, it's broad, and many people can win at the same time. It's not a win-lose situation; it's a win-be. We all can win at the same time. So again, it's about going to reprogram yourself. No longer there. And life is not like that controlled experiment where only one person wins and all the other people just throws behind it.
Yes, not some control the experiment. Yeah, one person wins and all that's true, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I like that. So how does real trauma show? Because it is manifesting every day, relationship, work, social interaction. How do you think it be showing up in some of these places or some of these departments of our lives? Yeah, we are the other messed up.
On YouTube. But let me just say this too, anybody listening to me. Be intentional about addressing a traumatic event from your past. And you might not go for therapy. You might not be that bad. You can afford therapy, great. But I think as simple as standing before the mirror and telling yourself, I'm no longer the same person who suffered that experience and life has moved on, can do magic. Because ranging from relationship to your job, to your business, to your ability to dream and reach for something, traumatic experiences keep showing up. For example, I talked about overcompensation. Somebody who was traumatized by the fact that they grew up in like one themselves. I never had a toy when I was growing up. I never saw a top.
Yeah.
Okay. I never owned it. Because we were so poor that, you didn't have food to eat. Buy a toy. I love the keyboard, the piano. But I never got the chance to play. And every time we visit a friend behind a keyboard, guess what? There are never batteries inside the head. Oh. So it's impacted me in ways I didn't really understand.
The person we had.
So almost whoever had never had batteries. So that's when I grew up, I told myself, when I have children, they will never have toys without battery inside the thing. What's the point of having a toy there's no battery inside? So now in my house, I have stack of battery in my closet. I make sure that if my child has any toy with battery,
So hold on. So if this also based off a responsive part,
it is. It is. No, it is held. It's not in that extreme over conversation, but it's held. It's held. For example, we didn't have televisions growing up. So when we went to our friend's house, they had TV. The remote never had batteries inside anything. So things like that. So there's a tiny pocket of dysfunctionalities. And I made up my mind that I want to live life with the feelings. I don't want to have a car and then the condition is bad. Just a little service and then you can't take it right. I wanted to be sure, I just committed to making sure that every part of my life works. And not in this dysfunctional, compulsive way. Or pursuing extreme perfectionism. I just want to be sure that I availed myself of all the luxury life can have fun and I make sure I enjoyed all the things I had around. Yes, they are extremes. I think maybe I'm addicted to fashion, shoes, to clothing now. I didn't have those things growing up. So I wanted to avail myself of those things. So again, one of the ways it shows up is in that overcompensation. Again, it shows up in your inability to have delayed gratification. Because you couldn't afford the things you needed when you were young. So now you can afford them. You don't see why you should postpone a want. So you want to have all that. Yes, that overindulging in the things that you want, whether it's food or toys or things, whatever it is. Another way it can happen in relationships, for example, if somebody jilted you, hurts you, or broke your heart, you now carry these things over onto a new relationship. So if that's what do you call it, PTSD, that trigger response, where if somebody is just behaving in a normal way, you are suspecting they want to do something somebody did to you in the past. So you are now transferring aggression onto people in your present, therefore bringing present joys with past hurts. So these are ways that unhealed or even unaddressed traumas can present in our present. When you are going for a job or an opportunity you're very qualified for, but because you've been denied in the past, you don't even want to try. Why? Because all the times I tried in the past, I didn't get it. So there is I'm not good enough syndrome. So, and nobody knows when it's going to click for you. The truth is that life and the history or events in life are not curated. Life's life is spontaneous. Yes, if people might have inherent advantages because of pedigree or whatever it is, but largely we all show up. And life can be reached, but most of the times, life gives everybody a level playing ground. And you will never know until you try. It's only those who show up that get lucky.
Correct.
You have to show up to get lucky. Life has what to call attendance-based compensation. Nobody will compensate you if you didn't attend in the first place. So, but even in the past, you've always been turned down and denied. And so it's killing something in you that doesn't want to try anymore. That's traumatic response. You must tell yourself that if I can't get opportunities, then I should create my own opportunities. At best, use events of the past to create certain stones to move on. Of course, I read a story about Ferrari, Lamborghini, Toyota. I don't know which of them, but I know one of them designed something and took to the big car manufacturers and they were turned down. They were sitting there and sulking that you're not good enough. They took the lemons and then they made lemon. They took the stones thrown at them and then they drew monument. So let the hurt of the past not push you to overcompensation, but let it spur you into believing yourself and not necessarily proving a point to the world or proving to yourself that you are good enough that you came in your presence.
Yes. Also talking about this unhealed trauma, because like you said, everybody, we all get up in there. So I think growing up, I learned to do things on my own. So I found out that instead of delegating, I already give myself. So at some point, I have to understand that in relationship, the measure of love we give is a reflection of how we see yourself. The measure of love we give and receive is a measure of how we are seeing ourselves. If we believe we are undeserving of anything, just like I say, when I was growing up, I don't believe anybody's forgiving me. So
Not because we're not kind to going do that to anybody picture.
What is it about? Okay, so what is this law? If I can always get it. So when someone around it try to, be kind, you're making a difference. So speak there, you're some more speak, you're 20%. Yeah, like, because I'm not used to getting. Okay, it's also part of it until I have to sit myself down to understand the career version of low. Okay, so relax and be mocked. Okay, yes. And again, I don't like anybody do that. Okay, I rather have to do it myself. Okay, but if I just if at some point in your life you must separate reality to say this is dysfunction or this is about, but this is not the way things are designed to be. So I have to get out of this way into a new way. But first of all, like let me say, the help begins with awareness. Yeah, understanding that this is dysfunction somehow, and I must leave this place or attempt to do something about this dysfunction, because the healing is a journey. It's not a one. It's not like it's a long, conscious, very long, conscious journey. It's not like okay, I just noticed it now. Tomorrow, submission has come back. It doesn't work that way. It's a long, everyday, conscious decision, conscious choice to move away from that which you found discussion. So again, brokenness is the elder brother of trauma.
Yes, trauma breaks you.
Yes, I like to call it elder brother. Okay, so is there any way at some point that brokenness becomes addictive? Like you really like to come, you come out.
No, this is why people want to subsist in a state of brokenness.
Yeah.
Because it's about paying a passion in a shunba. When you were broken, the event that broke you caused you pain.
Yes.
And every human wants to avoid pain. At least every normal human gets. And the thing about healing is that when you were broken, you experienced pain. For you to heal, that experience is not true. So there's a pain of the breaking and there's a pain of the healing. So people haven't internalized pain aversion, now avoid the second pain, which should be the pain that should be therapeutic. That's where things get very wrong. And I'll use orthopedics as an example. Yes, I thank God that medicine has developed to a point where there's anesthesia and things like that. But you see, no matter how you look at it, when somebody gets a fracture or has a fracture, sustained a fracture, and then they want to go through healing, the first pain was the pain of the thing that broke the bones.
Yes.
The second pain has to be the pain of setting the broken pieces to align so you can pass it. So if you try to avoid the second pain of the alignment, you will not heal, or you might heal and they end up dysfunctional. For example, if you had fractures and you refuse to allow them to align it properly, the bone will stitch together when you're young now, somehow. And then you move on with seeming normalcy, but then you have this dysfunctionality you see now in your life. Because you try to avoid the second pain, the pain of the healing. This is what it is. If you want to go back and address that pain, to the best of my knowledge, it's not that way to address malfunctional bone healing, except going back and then retract it, then realign.
We've all gone through before.
Yes. So the more you postpone the pain, the more pain you will go through if you have to heal eventually. So we must address this issue of pain aversion and aversion to pain. If you are the broken, while it's still very fresh, as much as you can, tell yourself the painful truth. Don't live in denial. Don't over-identify. Seek help. It might be painful, but seek help. If not, you'll be dysfunctional, or you need to go through more pain to address this event. That's one. The next is the pain in the concept of self-discovery. Because until you're able to discover yourself and define yourself in another light other than the trauma, you will still be living in the precincts of that trauma. So the pain of self-realization, who are you? And that is a very common question, but almost unanswered. Who are you? When we say who are you, you want to approach onto straws and appendages. Your degree, yes, your role, your business, your job, your pedigree, your parenthood. No, that's not who you are. You are not your money, you're not your job, you're not your husband, you're not your boyfriend, you're not your car, you're not your parent, you're not any of this. So when we strip you of all these appendages, I will get to your core. Who are you? So you want to define yourself in the light of this thing, because those things can be lost.
Yeah.
And if you attach those things to the identity, when they are lost, there'll be another you. So who are you? Then, if you know who you are, you now know what you are giving, because the greatest gift that we give to life is who we are.
Yeah. Correct.
So we're able to strip these whole appendages, so the barest minimum to the core, and you realize who you are. You can then give yourself pre-identity definition beyond the patient, not your pain. And a story that was told them by a popular preacher. This young man in the company, the company organized project set up. So the guy was loved. He was a very promising young man. People loved him. People had much expectation of him. But he did something buzzing around fraud. So people were disappointed. Then when the HR or disciplinary committee met, of course, it was done to lead up on site. So they called him before the panel, and everybody in the panel expressed their displeasure, of course, was poster child for what it means to be a capital employee, and they loved him and they were disappointed. When they were done reeling their tales and stories of disappointment, deserving so. And he said, I want to speak, and I want to say, sir, I know you're disappointed, I know you want to sack you, but I want to tell you something. Yes, I did the thing you say I did, but they are not who you say I am. And he took on the back. He was able to separate what he did and who he is. Yes, he might have suffered character mutation, maybe wrong influence, but these are influences. You see, he has control over who he is. So we must be willing to always take the pain of defining ourselves in the light of who we really are, and not the things they've done or the things that we have or don't have or have lost. That's one. Then the next thing we must do is strive for wholesomeness. There is no wholesomeness without true identity. Wholesomeness. Wholesomeness, like the word suggests, is no good. That is as against being a fracture, or being a decimal, or being broken pieces. Like you are wholesome, like you are you. You are one indivisible, complete individual that doesn't need completing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about individuality in the sense of not needing help, but I'm saying not being needed to a point where without that appendage, you are nothing. These are the things that open the doors of trauma, or brokenness, or pain, or breaking. Because if you had expectation that people would help you to become, and they didn't help you to become, you become disappointed. And that disappointment now goes to the extreme where you don't want to receive help anymore because you don't want to expect. Because expectation can lead to disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment leads to pain, and pain to bitterness. So you have to avoid these things. Then you now start rejecting even the most sincere offer of help. Remember I told you when we were starting, nobody is Superman.
Yes.
So we all need help. But there's one thing to be in need, happen to be needs. So that happens. We must be able to define ourselves properly and know where we accept help, like every other human being does. Then know where we're not limited to a point where without that help, we can't amount to anything. And I think I have the same issue. I lived a life that I was always one serving people, not in a subservient way, but I was one getting things done. I always get it done, go to it, want anything done, context. That kind of life I lived in the organization where I served. So when I now evolved to a new organization where I was now like a founder, it was challenging being able to accept help. I couldn't imagine people serving me. And not because I was this czar or tax master that was always subjugating people. But the role I play where I am now is that there are things I cannot be doing. I shouldn't be doing because I have to let go of some things that people can do and they get them to greater way. But now I can't do that. Because I can't figure a lot of people who want to serve to serve me. So it's a dysfunctionality. So we have to be intentional about it. Knowing where humility that causes to dysfunctionality and then where we're now pursuing this professionalism where we can't you do nobody else can. We all like that. Everybody has a pocket of issue that need to address.
Okay, interesting. I think it came up a whole lot of things because the idea of pain of the healing, that's a big part that a lot of people neglect.
Yes.
And you rightly said, I have a friend who recently had an accident, and the accident in itself was painful. The part we had a broken tap. It was very painful. He was admitted previously at this specialist hospital. He was telling me about a thing he had to go to the second time in life. It's, the man of the economy, crime motions and all that. He was, in fact, he brought out the painkiller drugs that he's on because he's unbearable. Now, the pain of healing, because it's going through the pain of the event has happened.
Yes.
Now, the pain of the healing is what he's going through now. And without that, there's no healing.
Yes.
Really. And it is, that analog is 100% true. In almost any area, because for you to even go through the healing, you have to remember and relieve what happened.
Exactly.
Now, remembering and relieving is pain.
Exactly.
Right.
People try to avoid that. And this is the thing about pain, the pain of healing, that sometimes people might try to alleviate or help malign the pain. But if people try to overprotect you, for example, even in medical situations, especially those who are on end of life treatment, maybe some kind of terminal condition.
Yeah.
If you are not on a terminal course, doctors are wary of pumping pain killers.
Yeah.
Because aside from the fact that you can become addicted, you can have far-reaching side effects.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows you that people who even try to want to help you reduce the pain can cause another problem.
Yeah.
It's just for you to always give context to the pain. That's why the context of pain, but this pain is the dawn to the real.
Yeah. And the context that gives it meaning.
Exactly.
And gives you endurance.
It's the durability. Yes, context
In the pain.
Exactly. When I say you should become sadist or nihilist or suicidal, don't go cognitive pain. We are saying when pain is inevitable, you have to heal. Give context to the pain. And I like how the Bible puts it, that Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross and despised the shame. So you have to look at what is said before you, and then place side by side of vis-a-vis current challenges and then the future glory, and decide what you want to do. You want to advance current pain and then lose future glory. You want to enjoy current pain or endure current pain and then claim the trophy that the future has for you. So context gives many period.
And there's also a recent event that happened. I had this friend, it was a couple of weeks, a day. So we're discussing and we said, okay, there's no good. I look at him because I know he used to be very much in ministry. And the concept here. In fact, he used to be in the seminary. Okay, trained to be a reverend father. Okay? So, but somehow he got out of seminary. He didn't graduate. Okay, so he was telling me about this idea of no God and how everything is scripted. So I have to think back to understand, has any event recently happened to him? Then I found out that he had an issue with the seminary, and that issue he had with the seminary fulfilled or was interpreted to there is no God. So for me, that is also a traumatic event.
Yeah.
Okay, because if he had an expectation, so how does expectation and perception, do they have any influence on trauma? Because in this context, I guess expectation was cut short. Okay? And given that his expectation was cut short, meaning to life and event changed instantly for him.
Significantly.
Significantly. In fact, he was even trying to convert me to join him. He was trying to join his own side of meaning and understanding.
Okay. Now, this is what I had to say about that. It goes back to that whole lone sufferer or over-identification thing. Now, I'm trying to not use explicit words, but things happen. I have also humans. Yes. So if you define the things that happen to you as though they happen to you alone, you end up exaggerating what we call normative human experience. Every human being goes through challenges. Now, it's either the thing that happened to you, or the thing that happened to you, or the thing that you did. You're either the cause based on your own character flaws,
yes,
or you were only a victim of prevalent character flaws of other human beings around. So you either did something wrong that got you prosecuted, or you did something right and then got you persecuted. But whether you are being prosecuted or persecuted These are all normative human experiences. When you define something as though it happened only to you, then start having names beyond what it has. I love how the wise man Solomon, that we call the preacher, says it. Something new in that song. And in life, people don't always get accolades for doing right. They don't always get judgment for doing wrong.
Yeah.
Just life, things happen. So if you have suffered undue treatment, and then you felt that God owed you something, again, is this sense of entitlement, like the universe owes you something because you've been good, like Santa, I've been a good boy all year long. So this is Christmas, Santa, you owe me something. No, that only happens in fables. There's no Santa there coming to reward all the year from good. That's how I like it. Not because God does not reward good, but the sense of eternal reward is in eternity. As a Christian, that's what we believe. Sometimes on there, in the here and now, in the present life, you might get the pockets of reward for doing right. And then people might get reprimanded for being wrong. But you've seen people who are daredevil, wicked men live out to a ripe old age, never suffer anything. There's somebody who treated you think that they'll go through life suffering. No. They'll be good, have the best marriage, great children, live out their life, no issues. You can see tyrants and politicians who stole the nation's seed, going to live to a ripe old age, enjoy their life, all their children do well. Life doesn't always do that immediate quid pro quo in time. Yeah. So for you to not have this disappointment to the point of being nihilistic, like this world should come to an end, everything should be destroyed. God didn't do me right, so there's no God. No. You must remember that God does not exist to your own self-serving end. Yeah. God is sovereign. He doesn't owe you an explanation. Now, when we say that, we might paint God to be this disconnected, heartless being. No. Every event is not meant to give you immediate comfort, but every event is supposed to end up giving you a total good story. Let's use the snack called the cake, for example. The cake is a great snack. Now, you can say it's healthy or not, it's your business, but the cake is a great snack. Now, if you think because the cake is great, every single ingredient that makes the cake will be great or sweet, you'll be very wrong. Some of them are bitter, some are tasteless, some are nauseating, some are pungent, some are bland, some will make you want to puke. When you put all these things together and then mix it under high pressures and then subject it to the highest heat possible, it comes out the beautiful snack that it is. So if you think that a great life means every single event in a solution must be great, then you are in for a shocker in present one of that. So you must understand that life can amount great in the end, even though you've gone through very breaking, debilitating, dysfunctional events in your life. Yeah. What the Bible promises is a pleasant end, not a smooth sailor. The Bible says, for we know it, that all things work together for the good. So the end is guaranteed good. The process, I always give this instance. When you see a keyboard is playing, or what you call the organ or a piano, they have two keys. They are the white keys and the black keys. Let us assume that we'll go through this, we'll go with this in natural thinking, that all things black are evil, all things good are white are good. So we'll think that for the keyboard to play well, it has to play only on the white keys. Or if you play on the black key, the black key, they are bad. But for real melody to be achieved, the keyboard have to play on the white keys and the black keys together. That's how life is. Life doesn't offer you all sweet for it to be pleasant. Sometimes there's bitter, other times tasteless, sometimes hot, other times pungent, sometimes sour. But when you put all these things together, it gives life the taste that it deserves. So if you judge events in isolation and then pick them out without the context of the whole, you will make a huge mistake. You end up being disappointed. And then you set yourself up for failure like this unfortunate incident of your friend.
Yeah. In the era of social media, I want to believe it has a huge impact. How does he amplify these issues on who's to?
Social media. My problem is, I think you notice, I don't have the facts straight now, but most nations have started barring people younger than 16 from having access to smartphone social media because they're the biggest sufferers.
Yeah, I think that is.
Yeah, Australia, yes. Yeah, recently. And most of the top tech guys don't allow their children to use smart gadgets because of how you have access to all kinds of things around the world. You understand? So, social media, we talk about globalization, and it's a great thing. But also understand that social media also globalized stupidity. Globalized functionality. So it's now madness are crumbled. Before now, madness can be localized in pockets of places. But now, just in split over of Boston, madness is everywhere in the world. And social media it's not a real world. It's a phantom of distance. So if you go there to define reality, you will be, when we're younger, we did that wrestling where wrestling matches were stings.
Yeah.
We didn't know were stings.
Me too.
We thought it was real.
Me too.
So you see somebody
A
who's
long
not.
time.
Yeah. And people can sustain real injuries.
Yep.
But those things.
Yeah.
Social media is a staged reality. And nobody puts their bad foot forward.
Exactly.
I saw something that actually said, she was down my time. A teenager, maybe 19, already an early adult, 20, young adult. Girls, they'll go to motels. They can't afford anything at the restaurant. Those girls. They'll carry a bag full of clothes. And then they'll go into the toilet or restroom, change, they'll come out and take pictures in different angles. Then go again. They'll do that for like 2-3 hours. Then they'll be posting over the next 2-3 weeks. And then they'll be sitting in a soft life. Living the life here. So other hapless, innocent young girls who are pursuing a dream. This girl might be uneducated. Her parents might not even have the money to send her to school. But she's putting on this fake life out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this young girl in that period level in Berkeley, their parents told, leave social media, leave smartphones, sit down and study to come up with something. We think that line has gone past, rather than having the life and then she's having that. So she's not judging her life based on the fake existence. So that's what I'm saying. Social media is a very war. Number 2, social media is a place where people go to rants. And people who are reading today are going to ingest people's ranting.
Yeah. But now I noticed there's something I saw. I think there's this ongoing issue between the guy they call Very Dark Knight.
Oh, the banter.
The banter. The other person. So now it's now a very serious issue online. So we see hyper vanilla, hyper strawberry. No, madness. Please continue.
I mean, you'll be shocked. So, because people have now made that phantom world real world, people are now making serious money by pushing out content to feed phantom seeking audio. So these two guys might be parents behind a cottage, or might not even care about the other person. But with these gang guys, we have there are two crowds. Those who are for Bilot and those who are for Vigium. But guess what? The two of them are cashing out every day. They're getting more popular, pushing out compacts, getting clips, getting adverts, and spending to the bank. And then I'm thinking objects is busy queuing up behind either of them. And you see the two of them, they're not fighting. Because if one stops abusing the other, the content is over. And then the content is over. And then the windfall is over. So, I can imagine, I can imagine being a calling VDM. So this is what you tell me, cost me the next time, cost me very well. And then you cost him, and then you call him all kinds of things and dance, kind of thing and dance and dance and dance. And people say, hey, I'm cutting back to him, 2 million views. I just see told I did yesterday, there was a little lacuna here, enter from me, and then, because then the bill of people, I'm looking for reprisal. And the people are queuing up, making it their reality. People are not picking quarrels, they are real friends.
Yeah.
Because, you do this one, you did to me what bill of did to give them. These are 2 state layers you are playing on the school. They are really real connections on the platform of phantom existence. So we must understand that these things are not real. Like our old mothers would do when they were watching movies, gunshot, and those things were staying. But then you couldn't convince them that that was not a real gunshot. So social media is not real. And it's part of our life. So you cannot entirely say you avoid it. Not entirely. But anytime you're going to just do that, you're either going to waste your time or going to pick up from people's traumas. Because you are naysayers who are hunting, the entertainers who are looking for clicks, all kinds of people will be sure of who you are, not sure how that is my cause.
Okay, we can talk about trauma. So let's come on. How do I know, okay, yes, from all we've said, someone can say, yes, okay, this event is true of me. I think I've been traumatized here. I have this issue, I have that issue. So how can I seek help for someone who is in this position?
Insight. Insight is the first step to read here. Okay. In the world of psychiatry, a psychiatric practitioner, a doctor, it was not the highest skill. Is when you have a patient who doesn't have insight. Insight meaning an awareness.
Yeah.
So insight solve the problem significantly. So knowing you have a problem, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Then knowing where to go for help is not enough. You can't go to drink from the gutter because you are thirsty. You understand? Yes, you are thirsty inside to have a problem. But where we turn to for help?
Yeah.
Are you going to further drink yourself in the quicksand, or you get some kind of respite to get you out? So the first thing is knowing you have a problem. Then number two, deciding where you want to go for help. Now, I'm not talking about what's the word now? Being proud or over hyping yourself. But I'm saying you must understand that it's not every place you can go to get help. Look for people who are credible, who are professionals, whether in the faith community or within professional circles, people who know what they're doing. People who are not going to help you relieve your only personality, but other people too, in the bid to wanting to cancel you, using you to relieve your own personality. So, yeah, it's a road that is fraught with mine in the good times. But be sure you go to credible places to seek help. And start with logic first. There's the thing that the book shop down respect. You might not respect music first. But that trust is you respect. But between respect and trust, look for trust first. Look for those you trust. Talk to those you trust. And even if they don't have the solution themselves, they can point you in direction. So leverage trust. Look for those who you think can help you. And happy things out. I can't sit down and then give you a full dose of how you can do to recover. I'm not a professional, sir. In sales. But when I go into faith-based circles, or you're going to a behavioral therapy, or self-sabotage, or whatever professional, seek help. Something like that.
So I say, if I understand I have this, I can help myself come out of it.
Again, it depends on the severity or significance of where you're in. You can get on some self-help, what call positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
You can do a few of those things, or there's just so much you can do, depending on how serious you can say your friends, how far, how
way you're done.
Exactly. Yes. But it's likely said that you can't solve a problem at the same level it was created.
Yes.
So you can't solve a problem at the same level it was created.
Yeah.
Yes, because you should need to grow. And sometimes that growth is curated, is aided.
Yeah.
Nobody grows unaided. Growth means that happening to somebody else's world.
Yeah.
Going to help you fix your own current inadequacies. So that's exactly what we're talking about. When you're seeking help on people's materials or missing them running wrong, seek help. Again, new shame. If you ask around, you know that people are going through worse than you've ever gone through. You'll be shameless. What you want is recovery.
Yes.
And like I always tell people, every week, the world has new gist every week.
Every day.
It's funny. I just want to give it every week, but maybe the lifetime of the gist is one.
Mm-hmm.
And then people move on.
Yes.
Life will give them a new dose of problems to worry about.
Yeah.
So you're not as popular as you think you use. We hype ourselves.
Yeah.
We overestimate ourselves.
Yes.
We don't even notice the chance of problem.
It's a spotlight effect.
Yes.
People think about so much more than we can imagine.
Nobody knows what you're going through. People are going through their own issues. So seek help.
Yeah.
Even if people know about it, and so what? They'll talk about you, and so what? And the next 2 or 3 days, that will give them a new challenge, and then they will leave you and move on. So don't die because you are ashamed people will get to know that you're going through issues. Seek help.
So I'd like to also ask this last question. At what point, because we've agreed here that trauma unattended to and tend towards brokenness. At what point does brokenness start to do something that happened to us and start becoming effects? At what point is brokenness are only like you just not innocently it's just what we want.
I'm going to be careful at the risk of sounding callous or disconnected. People go through serious issues.
Yeah.
We can't make light of that. But the movie of life has 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The season where others write your story. And the season where the pen is handed over to you. The tape writes your own story. You must know when life has given you the pen. You write your own story. It is not simplistic. I'm not even sure it's simple, but I know one thing for sure. Life has 2 seasons. The first part, people write your own stories. It's both literal, it's figurative. When you're a child who decided on what she would do. But it gets to a point where life either hands you the pen or you go there and take the pen. At that point, the pain and the problem is no longer something that was done to it. You got your choice. Tell people. There's no guarantee that people will not fall. People can slip and fall. You want to cross the road and then there's a little gutter or a ditch. And then for whatever reason, you slip and fall inside. You're dressed in your pristine white, beautiful girls. And then you fall into a gutter, shape messed up. You fell into a gutter. So what do? You get it.
That's just
so. So you have to gash or concoction for loss. Seek medical help or get up. Move on. But the difference from somebody who goes into their bedroom, goes to get the pillow, goes to the crib, gets a bottle of drink, they walk across the road, gets into a gutter, lying there, they push the pillow, and they're taking their drinks out of the gutter. One person fell into a gutter, the other located into your gut.
yeah.
That's how it happened. Yes, things happen to you, you didn't have any control. Life happens.
Yeah.
But at what point should they stop saying they did this to me and then tell yourself I'm now a critical stakeholder in my own life? I'm deciding how to. Again, I don't want to make light of people's problems, but I'm saying that life will only give you the chance to either take over the pen and write your own story or walk away from that story at a new start.
100%. 100%. Begin. It gets better with time. Thank you very much.
I want to do you laugh. Good thumbs. And deep perspective always comes. It brings us something inside there that's been
Correct. I'm learning too. Okay, yeah, but thank you. So I make sure you speak to Yula. Yeah, that's from next year. You subscribe too.
You have to subscribe. You won't click on the button. Maybe you have trauma. Subscribe. You might be trauma, you're not subscribed.